Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bodied, a Cloud9 Fancast. I am your host, Havocpuss, and I am joined by Frozen Creek. How are you, Frozen?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just hanging out. You know, I'm on my work's downtime part of my schedule, so I've just been chilling, which is nice.
How has your quarantine been the past week?
Pretty good. I started up my on my X-Men insane marathon that I don't know why I started, but I can't technically stop now. Um, I figured out that the part that I'm on in this reading list that I'm going through, I actually already have like half of it already collected. So I that means less money that I have to like spend to like read it,
Nice.
which is pretty great and also pretty like weird that I have already like half of like an era already kind of covered. But that's pretty cool.
Have you read them all already or no?
Um, the stuff that I already have collected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Nice.
Yeah, so I kind of know what happens, but it's a pretty interesting area because like it's in the '90s, so it's like when everything kind of gets like it sort of starts as like a soft reboot kind of deal. Um, it's not really a reboot, but it kind of feels like it is, and then it adds some more politics into the book that you didn't really see before, and it goes into some pretty neat directions. So that's pretty neat.
Nice. I finished Haikyuu over the weekend and I started Kill la Kill, which is not what I was expecting.
Oh, Kill Kill is really good.
It is not what I was expecting. I'm like 5 episodes in maybe. So
Oh yeah, you definitely think it's like just like, oh hey, this girl wears like almost nothing, but it's
I mean,
much more
yeah.
than that.
Yeah, I read a preview of it where it sounded a lot different than what I have gotten in these first few episodes, but I'm gonna give it time because I have time.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's dive into things. We're doing this as kind of a two-parter in one episode. We're gonna do the other esports, just us two, and then we're gonna bring Skeleton back for LCS Week 1 preview against
I
who's
believe
their first
it's
opponent?
FlyQuest and then 100 Thieves, I think. Let me look at the schedule just to make sure.
Yeah, and we have some pretty big shit talk from the 100 Talk Pod. So I'm gonna see if I can get that into the episode because it was pretty funny. I was listening to their episode, and while they actually did predict Cloud9 to win, they specifically called out
Oh,
Bodied to
threaten.
threaten us this
Okay.
weekend, I guess. So
We'll have to get them on next
yeah, it was
week to kind of break down the
pretty good.
match and kind of talk about what happened.
I wanted to ask them about a prop bet. Like Cloud9 is going to get more kills against 100 Thieves than 100 Thieves it will all weekend, but I can't think of
Right.
like
I
a good
just don't
prize.
gamble because I'm a coward.
So that's fine. But I'm confident. But yeah, this is going to be the other esports half of the episode, so I will let
All right.
you kick
So
that
first we're going to start
off.
off with C9 WoW having a little bit of a come from behind victory at this third North American AWC Cup that they were in. They actually lost to Golden Guardians in the upper finals, like 2-3, and then you Frozen were kind of doubting them a little bit.
Yeah, I like to actually think I was a bad luck charm instead.
I actually was gonna go to bed because it was like, well, it looks like we're not gonna play against like midnight or something. And I'm not gonna stay up that long. So I just went to bed and I woke up seeing like a bunch of tweets and everyone celebrating. It's like, oh, we actually won the whole thing. Wow. So they crushed it. This is their third cup in a row that they've won. So C9 WoW looking like still one of the top dogs in North America for the World of Warcraft 3v3 arena scene. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, I watched the second, third, and fourth games of the first series against oh gosh,
Golden Guardians.
Golden Guardians.
Because that was the one that we lost.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this isn't looking good. So I shut it off. I didn't know that there were actually 2 games left that night, but it was almost
Yeah. There's a lower bracket,
midnight.
and then yeah.
So they probably didn't win till 3 a.m. my time. So I was staying after that. Sorry, guys, but yeah, big win. I'm glad they improved from what I saw. While I didn't know exactly what was going on, I did know that it didn't look good.
Yeah. It's great. I think that they were able to bounce back after that loss. I think that can kind of be hard sometimes, especially in this game, since like to actually win in WoW, it takes forever because there's like so many like healing and like shielding resources and like being able to like take out like CC and everything, and like there's polymorphs and counter smells and all that garbage that it like you have to get like 20 or 30 minutes into a match just to be like, okay, they're actually starting to do damage to each other now. But it's good that they were able to kind of like refine themselves and win. I can only imagine what they had to do to like strategize between games and everything, and going into like the grand final match for that day.
Yeah, and it's a lot of focus because we tend to play the slower comps. So
yeah, we really like doing
goes kind of a while.
Yeah, we do the warlock mage thing where we go for like, I think how it works is that you bank off of hitting like high crit damage with like the chaos bolt from the warlock and then the greater pylar blast from the fire mage. And if you can get like a few of those off when like the dampening gets really high, you just try to like get someone down so low that it's like, okay, just hit them with everything else, kind of chip them down. But it's good that we're able to come back and win it. I'm really proud of them. But moving on, we actually have some PUBG Mobile news, and I never thought that I would be able to say that.
I actually forgot it existed.
Yeah, I forgot that it existed, first of all. Second of all, I never really get or see notifications when we're actively playing. So it's kind of amazing. But PUBG Mobile, they started the summer season off for this PUBG Mobile League or whatever that they're a part of. After day 3, which I guess rounded out the week for them, they got to 10th place, which is pretty dope, considering that there's probably like maybe like 20 squads or something. 18, I'm not sure how many teams are participating, because you can have a lot of people playing. But they got 10th place. They're in 10th place right now, which is pretty great.
Yeah. I actually don't get why there's a competitive scene for PUBG Mobile that seems to be as diverse as the actual game, but what do I know?
Yeah, I find it really interesting that we got rid of our regular PUBG roster, but we kept our mobile roster. And I think Jack maybe talked about it a little bit on a podcast or something. Like he was getting interviewed once, and it would basically came down to, I think that the mobile scene offered more returns or something for C9 versus the regular scene, and the mobile scene was somehow more lucrative, and had more benefits, which was odd because you would never expect, I don't think, a mobile scene to be worth as much.
Yeah, realistically, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I guess I'm glad we have it. Any little bit helps.
Yeah, I think it's also good to just at least have one team in a mobile space, because that is a part of esports that, even though it's very small, it is fairly active. So I think that at least having it there is good. And I think it is good to see some of our smaller teams kind of get, oh, hey, we're doing stuff and we're doing okay, and we're actually getting notification for games. I still have no idea what our Rainbow Six team is playing again. I'm not sure if it's the off season.
Yeah.
They exist, I think, still, but I have no idea what is going on in terms of when we play next. Like, how good are we doing? Any of that, I have no clue.
Yeah, me neither. That's why it's nice to have the Cloud9 website with a schedule now, but it doesn't.
It doesn't cover
It's still
everything.
lacking in. It's still lacking in content. So
Yeah, I think it really only covers things that are like for sure scheduled. So like it covers League. I think it covers our Overwatch teams. But that's about it. Anything that's like a small tournament or something that's just like an event that maybe got scheduled a few weeks in advance, or like a month in advance, it doesn't really show up. So it's a very like sort of complete calendar, but not really.
yeah, it's kind of weird, but
Yeah.
their whole website is lackluster. But speaking of lackluster, what happened with Valorant? They dropped
Oh
out of
man.
the group series of Twitch
So
rivals this
we
week.
talked about that when it happened originally in the Discord. So Tens and his team, which participated in a previous event, it was like the Elite Esports NA Rivalry Bowl or something. And just to kind of put an asterisk on that, this is not an official C9 roster. This is Tens, who is the official Cloud9 player, as well as 4 other Valorant players playing with him. This is not an official C9 roster. This is sort of like C9 Tens plus extras. But so they played, and this is the same roster from that event. They played it, they dominated it, they won. They even beat like what was essentially became TSM's team. So, they looked really good. This event, it was very different. I will say that our group was extremely stacked. We had to go up against Hiko and his team. We had to go up against Sinatra and Corey. We also had to go up against TSM, basically TSM's team. It was like 4 of TSM's roster players, plus I think it was like their Fortnite Battle Royale player Mythy. And so it was a really stacked group, but we went like 1 and 2. And we did not look as good. We didn't look as coordinated. I think there could be a few factors to that. I will say that I really don't like how Twitch Rivals handles their events. It's like
Yeah.
they do like a round robin, but it's a single round robin. And I think that only the top team, or it might be the 2 top teams from that group, just go on to the quarterfinals. And the quarterfinals are also just a best of 1 match. And it's
Okay.
only best of 3 from like semifinals onwards. So it's like you do a singular round robin, and then you get the top teams to do quarterfinals, and then which is the best of 1, and then you really only get to a true sort of playoff format until semifinals, which I really don't like. It seems like it's a really kind of, I understand it's probably for time constraints, but it seems like really unideal.
Yeah, that's not very good for competitive integrity, but I guess it is the rules for that specific event.
Yeah.
Do you think that this might be why Cloud9 has not announced a Valorant team roster yet
It, it,
because of this, and they
it,
wanted to kind of see how it played out?
it definitely could be. I think that the fact that we haven't announced a full roster yet, while some orgs have, is really interesting. It could be that there's still contract negotiation. It could be that they're wanting to build around Tens because Tens a really good player. Watching his stream, you see that he's usually always top fragging. He's playing characters like Jet, and he's just kind of zooming around and getting all these kills because he's like this aggressive player. So it could be they're trying to build more around him and find players that are more comfortable with playing with him and how he plays. It could be they were thinking about maybe signing this roster, but they wanted to see through like a few more events on this configuration to see if it would be worth it. Maybe they're trying to do like half steps and see like, okay, well maybe if they keep like Infinite and Shinobi, right? Okay, this core can probably work, and then you can pick 2 more players. There's probably a lot of factors we don't know. I will say that there is one, and this was brought to my attention from a user in the C9 Discord, that based purely on followings of people following the C9 GM and him following them back. I gotta scroll up a ways. I didn't think it was gonna be this long. I'm stalling for time. There was a supposed roster of like Tens, Infinite Shinobi, Corey, who was a Washington Justice player, and I forgot the last guy. He was like a PUBG player, I think. Heck, I don't think I can find it. Anyway, I can't find it, but it was, I think it started with a V. I can't remember. But based on followings of following the C9 GM and him following them and everything, it looked like that could be the roster. We really don't know. The esports scene is still really early. It may be that C9 is not wanting to rush into a roster and take a bunch of like tier 2 CSGO pros who it may be obvious why they didn't really get far in CS, and be like, well, we have this like a bunch of people from CS that were tier 2 and really struggled to kind of get at it and make a big name for themselves. And then a few months later, it's like, oh, well, there are all these actual Valorant players now, and we could have signed them instead if we just waited. I don't know. There's a lot of factors, but I'm hoping we get an announcement soon. It's driving me crazy that we haven't seen any news yet.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this rumor like 3 weeks ago. So
Tense mentioned on stream that like, oh yeah, we should announce like the roster soon. And I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so maybe that is part of it. But let's move on to another set of news that we teased last week. Kalento is no longer Grandmaster in Hearthstone.
Yeah, I mentioned that last week a little bit. He played in a Grandmasters event match or whatever, and he lost. And I guess with that loss, he dropped out of Grandmaster status. And he had this whole big tweet longer thing saying like, oh, well, I'm not in I'm not a Grandmaster anymore. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. If I'm gonna like move to another game or what. But it kind of sucks because Kalento has been like a big name in Hearthstone. I know we don't report on Hearthstone like at all, but he was still a big name, and to see him like drop from being a Grandmaster does really suck.
Yeah. It is kind of surprising too, because he's been such a big player in the scene for so long.
Yeah, it's I think the surprising thing is just he has been there so long, and you think that he would obviously stay there because from what I've seen and everything, he's a very, very smart player. But I think that as the game changes and as more people get better at it, eventually, everyone's time kind of comes. So I guess it might just be his time. Who knows?
Yeah, it makes sense. Moving on.
Yeah. And now I'll preface this with another asterisk. This is just a rumor. But I've seen news kind of posted around that kind of points to it looks like Cloud9's Rocket League team is going to be pulling out of Rocket League. And we're going to be disbanding soonish. I've also seen a report that it looks like Squishy is going to be playing for NRG Esports. But it kind of sucks just in that we had this Rocket League team. They were always getting top 4 events or winning events. You know, we even won a world championship at one point, but then after that, we just fell off a cliff, and it looked like we were just playing worse and worse. And I personally just hate that our legacy is ending on our team cannot do anything anymore, and we just degraded to a point of we're pulling out on a really bad note. Also, and you know, on top of Rocket League may just not be financially viable for the organization anymore.
Yeah. This was our longest serving consecutive team, I believe,
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
yeah. This is our longest standing roster.
yeah, so it is a big loss for the org, especially for a lot of our Rocket League fans, which it seemed like there was a decent amount. So
Oh yeah, like it's definitely. I've always called it one of the pillars of Cloud9 because it's one of the teams that really draw people in. I think that with their success and everything and their skill, or you know, that they had, you know, it was definitely a big draw to join in on the C9 fan base. And I think that they were just really fun to watch. I really enjoyed Rocket League, and it was basically like, oh, I can kind of watch soccer, you know, without actually having to watch soccer, you know, and it's more fun because you have these little toy cars zooming around and everything. Um, and now it's like, well, I don't really have incentive to watch Rocket League anymore because I really only watch it for Cloud9. So now I can't watch Rocket League anymore.
yeah, but I guess again, this is just a rumor for the time being. But I'm sure that by the time this is recorded and not posted yet, it will become official.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. As soon as it gets posted, we'll get the big update.
Yeah, but speaking of being dropped out, CSGO dropped out of the Blast Premier event semifinals, I believe, after losing to MIBR. It was not their best match, but they looked decent, and it is an okay performance overall. But I really feel like the team could have performed a lot better, especially in groups.
They definitely could have. I think that this was just maybe not their event. You know, I think that, you know, teams, you know, as much as we demand, like, well, they need to win and they need to be better, you know, sometimes you just have like an off event, right? You know, it's just, you're not feeling it. It's not your event. You know, the teams you play against, maybe they prepped a little bit better. Maybe they just played a little bit better that day. And then when you play bad one day, you have to like kind of think like, well, I can't do that from what I did yesterday. I have to be better. So you're kind of second guessing yourself and stuff. But yeah, we just didn't have a good event. Our CT side definitely is what's kind of hindering us from really like achieving a new level, because our attack side on T side, it's pretty great. I don't see a lot of flaws in how we really play T side. But when we have to play defense first, or when we switch to defense, it just looks like we're a completely different team, and we just really struggle to convert our leads that we gained if we were T side first, or we struggle to, you know, kind of transition to a different mode of play.
Yeah, it's absolute carnage on CT side. Specifically thinking of the Hunter Thieves match, we were down really, really big. I think it was like 12-4 or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that,
and that was the one that we
or
came
12
back
to
like
three,
super
or
hard, right?
yeah, on CT side, and then we switched to T side and brought it back, and somehow came back from an insurmountable deficit. So yeah, it seems like they just never learned to play CT side as they were becoming pro players, and they only learned T side, and that was it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they can eventually get better at it. I'm not sure what they can really do. You know, I'm not like a virtuoso in CS or anything, so I'm not really sure. But I'm hoping that their coach and everything can figure it out, because I think it's something that they definitely need to work on, and I'm sure they are working on it. But you know, we can only kind of see and hope that things get better, because I really don't want to lose this roster, because this was the first roster that really got me like excited to watch Counter-Strike again, because before we got this roster, it was just sort of this revolving door of like we're getting these low like tier players, and we're just trying to like slot people out like almost every month it seemed, just to try to like fit. We need like a fifth person, and we need to like fit someone that can maybe play around with automatic, and we're just trying like piece after piece, and it's just not working, but and it made me just like not want to watch the game anymore. But watching this roster, I love all their personalities. I feel more like attached to them and everything. So I really would hate to lose them for just trying to like get a stronger team or something.
Yeah, and this kind of is a roster to build on for the future. I don't think it was ever picked up to be superstars from day one.
No, yeah,
so
this is definitely like we're gonna our expectations are we're gonna be high tier 2, and then the potential is there that if you really try and train them up and get them to improve as time goes on, you can maybe break into tier 1. I think we're ranked maybe number 19 in the world, I think, which top 20 I think is pretty good considering where we were like a year ago. But I think at one point we were like 16 or 17, so we were close to being in the top 15, which is way better. So I'm hoping that things can get fixed eventually.
Yeah, and it is a project, and there is obviously a lot for them to learn. So I'm hoping that they can help shore up those weaknesses, and we can win a few more matches.
Yeah. But I guess our last little bit of talking points before we go to our break and then get to talking with Skeleton about this upcoming League of Legends summer split. The London Spitfire are back with the return of the Overwatch League season. They're playing this Saturday and Sunday. They're still in Korea, so they will be facing off against more of, I guess, the teams that have been located there and sort of the Southeast Asia area. So Saturday, if you're awake at 4 a.m. Eastern time on June 13th, you can watch them play the Shanghai Dragons. Get ready for that, I guess, if you're up.
Oh, they're already back to playing Shanghai again?
Yeah. The last time they played Shanghai,
I think that was just their last match almost.
Yeah. Their last match was in the. I think it was the Asia Melee event, and with how seeding worked, we had to play against Shanghai, and we took them to map 5. We almost went the distance, so I think that's really something. I think that our roster does have some potential in a few of our players. I think it's just a matter of getting the right thing. I think you pretty much have to just start Aldo and Glister, because they're like the best DPS duo, I think, of everybody on that roster. And Bernard is a really good diva. You could probably trade out with Class, I don't know, but I think that maybe for support, you kind of have to just put in Sanguinar and I can't remember the other guy. We have so many support players, but I don't think you should put in Krillin. I think Krillin's just too much of a weak link. In terms of main tanks, I'm not sure either what the team should really do. Like J-Mac seems okay, but he seems kind of a weak link, and he kind of struggles on things that aren't within his wheelhouse. And I'm not sure about our backup main tank, because I don't think he's really played at all. So I'm not sure. It could just be that this season ends, and then next season London just tries to slot out the weak points with better players. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what we're gonna do about Overwatch in the future. I hope Overwatch 2 becomes a success, because if not, this scene is falling apart.
It
in the
is really
past.
struggling. Like I'm not sure about viewership, but it probably is down. I think they have. I did see a thing saying that at least for playing the game, online. I'm not sure about Overwatch League, but they did get rid of the whole hero pool thing. So it's not like every week something is banned, and you're kind of forced to play. If you were a McCree one trick, eventually McCree will get banned, and then you have to play something else or just not play. They got rid of that for playing solo queue, at least. So at least if you're going to grind out ranked games to try to at least get some practice, if you're like warming the bench or whatever, you can at least do that now. But yeah, I'm not really sure what Overwatch League is going to do. I think for sure next season they're going to really have to figure out how to one, balance the esports scene and the casual scene and everything, which is really two different things. I mean, they've really struggled for a while of trying to balance the game to make it better for pros and also make it better for people who are high on the ladder or just casual players. And they've really struggled to kind of meet in the middle on those two. So they really need to get it into gear, because I'm not sure exactly what's gonna happen if things kind of trend in the direction they are.
Yeah, there is a lot to happen in that scene in the future, especially with COVID. But I think that's about it for this half of the episode. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I don't have anything else. Just stay with us for a little bit, and we will return with our good friend Skeleton, and we will discuss some upcoming league action this weekend.
All right, see you then.
Okay, and we are back. I suppose before we get into it, probably some apologies to some listeners. Skeleton actually couldn't make it tonight. We recorded the first half of this beforehand, thinking that he was going to make it, but something came up. So, it was family emergency type deal. Everything's fine. But point is, he couldn't make it tonight. We're going to try to get him on at a later date so he can join us and talk about some league stuff. But until then, it's going to just be me and Frozen just chewing the grass. People say that, right? That's a phrase.
I've never heard that, but I'm not from Banama, so I have no clue.
I'm sure cows say it.
Cows might say it, or horses.
I'm just trying to appeal to our equine and bovine audience, Frozen.
Yes, those are our
it's a large demographic.
Our biggest listeners. So I'm glad that you are reaching out and trying to bridge the gap between our human and bovine and other species.
Yeah.
And listeners. But we have been separated for 7 hours, so we don't need any formalities. But in this 7 hours, as we predicted, Rocket League was dropped.
They did it to us again. Like every time we record something on like a bit of like rumored news, it's always after we record. It's always like, okay, we'll hang tight, we'll sit there. Maybe we'll get something like later in the week or something, or maybe next week. And then it's just, oh man, they did it like right when we hung up.
Yes, and it was exactly as anticipated, but I do think it's sad that we are losing our Rocket League team. I wonder what that means for the future of competitive Rocket League, and if this is the downfall, or if this is just the downfall of Cloud9 Rocket League.
Yeah, I've been seeing some people discuss it, and it's been a very interesting conversation. I would think that if C9 was still passionate about Rocket League, if they weren't, I guess to rephrase, if there wasn't some sort of financial issue that was making it more difficult for C9 to succeed with Rocket League, I think, if it was a still really viable esport or something, they would have just changed the roster. since it was having a lot of trouble, I would think that they would just get somebody new to pull out of the game entirely. I think that it really just comes down to that there was something going on behind the scenes of either how they made money or if they were going to move towards franchising or what, that C9 just really didn't agree with, and it was probably going to hurt them from some financial point of view, and they just said, we would probably be better off just cutting Rocket League altogether. I would think that that's probably what's happening.
Yeah, and it even could be internal things too. Like one person didn't want to play anymore, and they didn't want to find someone new. So maybe it could have just been time, but I hope not. I hope that this was something that was thought over, because I do think that there were a decent amount of Cloud9 Rocket League fans.
Oh yeah, it was definitely. It wasn't as big as I would say League of Legends or CSGO, but it was definitely probably the third biggest fan base among Cloud9 fans. Especially since this roster, I believe it's gone on for like 1,129 days as the most like consistent lineup for a Cloud9 team, which is a pretty big streak, considering they've been through multiple events, and I think I mentioned earlier, they won us a world championship, so I think that we should be satisfied with what they gave us with the time that we had with them.
Yeah, is League of Legends our longest tenured roster now? Maybe PUBG Mobile.
Maybe. I don't know. I would say maybe our WoW team.
Oh yeah, true.
Because they've been with us for a little while now. Yeah, I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to see kind of like how the org kind of moves forward in sort of their esports decisions. If I'd assume that they are eyeing Valorant as a means of competitive entry, since it's the hot thing right now, and everyone is trying to get a Valorant team because it's produced by Riot, and so Riot has experience with esports. They're probably going to have a scene built up eventually as time goes on. I'm not sure about other games, new or existing, so we'll just have to see kind of where C9 goes. We'll probably won't see any big moves outside of Valorant for probably a little while, I would expect.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic of not big moves, I guess it would be a good time to mention that King will probably not be playing in Academy this split, at least for the time being, and he is being replaced by Tomo.
Yeah, the coronavirus has really, it's messed up. It's been playing with him for like the entire year, basically. Like I think he was in Canada or something for playing for spring, and so he was in Canada. That's why he wasn't in like the studio when they were having studio games, because I think he was having like visa issues or something. Yeah. So like if you go back and you watch the Academy games while they were playing in the studio, you see like everyone in a chair except for King.
Or so was he playing on like ping or something then?
I think
And
so.
everyone else had like 0 ping or 7 ping or something.
I think so. It was something weird like that. But King, I think was maybe he was maybe playing in Canada, but then he moved. The season was over, so he went back to Australia, right? And that was a whole issue in and of itself. But then when he got back to Australia, and the season started to start again, he tried to come back, so he could play. And all the visa interviews and everything, it just made it to where until like the coronavirus stuff really minimizes to like a super manageable, safe level, I don't think Australia is letting anyone like enter or leave, or maybe just leave. I'm not sure, but basically he just can't leave Australia, so he's kind of stuck, and so that's why we have to take Tomo.
Yeah, and it is a big hit for the academy team. They are the reigning world champions. Is that still a term that
We
we
are the
use for
Academy
academy?
MSI champions. Yes.
Okay, so we are still the reigning champions. So I feel like it is a big hit to our um chances of uh, repeating. But we do have everyone back for the split besides King.
Yeah, I will say that King was like a big part of our carry strategy because he really did pop off in a lot of games, and I think he really did help push us to win a lot of games. It'll be interesting to see how Tomo plays, but I think for the most part, C9's Academy team should be fine-ish, just because we still have the 4 players that we had in spring. We still have our coaching staff and the structure in place. So really only one slot has changed, and I don't think the ADC slot, especially since that's really not that impactful of a role as probably all the others, especially now and how the meta is. I think we should be relatively fine.
Yeah, and looking at the rosters of what could be the rosters, but might not be. I still like our chances to repeat, though there are we have some other good squads. Evil Geniuses is going to have either Huni Jizuke or
Or
Bang
bang,
playing
yeah.
in academy, which is not exactly fair.
And Smithy, I think, is an academy too,
Oh yeah, yeah. For
and
now, at
then
least,
that was
100.
announced like an hour ago or so.
Yeah, and 100 Thieves has contracts in Soligo who are pretty good. So I do like our chances, but time will tell. Oh, Academy actually starts off on Thursday, so this episode might not be up, but we open with 100 Thieves. So it'll be a good chance to see how we measure up against some other good teams.
Yeah, it should be. I'm really glad at how the format actually turned out this time around, because you pretty much get like the end half of the week to just watch League of Legends instead of it being kind of like peppered throughout. Like, well, you get some like Thursday, and then you get some Friday, and then you get some Saturday and Sunday, and then you have like a couple things Monday. I like how it's just like your end of the week, you can just watch League of Legends for pretty much like the whole weekend.
Yeah. I really did like Monday Night League, but rip.
I did too. I was actually kind of sad about that because it was very similar to like Monday Night Football in the feel of like, hey, it may be Monday, but we have some league to play Monday, so it's not all bad.
Yeah, but we do have the Academy playing 100 Thieves on Thursday at 6 p.m. and then Friday they are doing the what did they call it? Yeah, last split when every team played at the same time.
Oh yeah, it was like Academy Rush.
Academy Rush, yeah.
But I think that
So
they
they
made
play
it so that
FlyQuest.
I think they made it so this time you can have like co-sponsored streams or whatever. So like there's Academy Rush going on, but I think
Oh, okay.
that teams now can stream their own games like simultaneously.
If I remember correctly, some teams were doing that last split towards the end of
I think
it.
they did it. I think they did
I
it
think
for a
they
little
should.
bit, but I think they did it for a little bit. But I think Riot was like, no, you can't do it because then people wouldn't watch Academy Rush or whatever.
Which why would they? Because it was just a shit show.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's beside the point.
I can't remember the whole story, but I think that this time they're allowed to co-stream.
Yeah, and maybe this will be the return of Mad Magical
Oh, please let it be the return of the good boys.
and the Cloud.
I miss the Clouds. I miss Mad Magical.
Elite talent.
I miss Rage in the Cage. I miss all of them.
All right, moving on to LCS. We have our first week coming up. We start off Friday against FlyQuest. So this is the repeat of last split's finals, right? Where we beat
Yeah,
FlyQuest.
yeah. The one of the games it's always like the first day of League is always like rematch of the playoff finals, and then it kind of shakes out from there.
Yeah, so we are going up against FlyQuest, who has an unchanged roster from last year. How do you feel about this game?
I mean, both rosters are unchanged. I think that the meta has shifted a little bit, probably, but not too much. I haven't seen. I mean, of course, I haven't been watching too many streams or anything, but from what I've heard, it looks like things haven't really changed much. I think they did buff ADC a little bit, but from what I heard, it wasn't enough to make it like, oh yeah, this role can compete with everybody now. But nothing really has changed. I think that this should be a slam dunk for the boys. I mean, I think Licorice or Svens. No, it was Licorice said it in an interview that they were experimenting with some stuff in scrims, which I like. I think that they are trying to look to be more varied in their approach, but I think it shouldn't be too difficult. I will say that FlyQuest was probably our most challenging opponent in spring, but that was kind of when everyone wasn't trying. So I'm curious to see how the summer season shakes out.
Yeah, me too. I do like this FlyQuest team. I've always been a huge Power of Evil fan, and Ignar is obviously an elite support. What do you think our win conditions are for this game?
That's really hard to tell since it's going to be one of the first games of the season. I would say probably just do what we've been doing. Allow Niski to kind of roam and help everybody else. Play around Blabber in the early game, and Niski is obviously going to help him. So, just play around Blabber's movement and Niski's roams and get good early lead advantages, and then late game play more around Sven and Niski probably. I think there's really nothing that would change from last season in terms of how we've been playing.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. Let Blabber and Niski control the tempo, and everyone else just farm up. On the point of them experimenting with stuff, what are some new champion picks or compositions that you would like to see them play?
I am actually a really big fan of mages in the bot lane. I know some people don't like it because it's against what the bot lane ADC rule is about, but I actually like it because it forces bot lane to be a lot more flexible and more versatile and more diverse. So maybe, I saw Sven play Cassiopeia a few times, so we could maybe see that, or like his Syndra, or maybe just do like the Yasuo Gragas comp. I don't know. That's kind of fun. I really don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Niski has picked up from watching the other mids around the world, specifically Dwayne B, who has been playing a lot of Karma. So I'm curious to see if we're going to see a Karma mid and maybe a Mordekaiser top kind of thing. And I'm also interested to see how NA teams value a Wukong. I feel like it's something that is going to be pick ban, or something that
wait, is Wukong really that strong?
Yeah, he got picked at, or he's been getting picked in LPL.
No way.
Yeah, so he has the double knockup on.
The double knockup is really stupid. I do agree.
And he lanes decent, I think. I haven't watched a ton of games, but I know that he's getting picked. So
okay,
I feel like that's either something that's going to get pick and banned all split, or it's something that is going to show up once, get smashed, and
just never
get picked.
It'll be like that.
Again, yeah.
Oh, there was that one pick. There's always like a pick where like NA never seems to figure it out. Like you see it like in all these other reasons. Yeah, or I think it was maybe like I can't remember. It was either in the spring or last year. There was a pick that teams kept picking, and I was like, I don't know why they keep picking this, because every match I've seen, maybe it was mid Trist. I can't remember, but it was It was a pick. It was a pick that
Who
in
really
other
picked
regions
that
was
up a bit?
working, but when you went to like Western teams or specifically NA teams, every time they picked it, the team would lose. And I was just like, I don't know
Yeah,
why you keep picking it. You seeing all these other NA teams pick it and lose. I don't know why this time would be different.
yeah. I'm blanking on what that is too. So um, I'm not sure, but I feel like it is a tough opening weekend for Cloud9 because our second game is against 100 Thieves, who are also who were playoff who were in playoffs last split, and they have an unchanged roster, and I feel like they could be a sneaky good team.
Yeah, 100 Thieves is to me a bit of a question mark. They obviously have good pieces. Like they have Someday who, you know, he has like his on and off moments. But when he's on and 100 Thieves is able to play through him, he's really, really good. And I think that you can kind of say that through the rest of the roster. Like Meteos has his on off moments, right? And if he's, you know, he knows a lot about the game, but if he's having an off day or someone's out jungling him, he really struggles. You know, Ryoma is kind of the same thing. I'm actually really impressed with the improvement that Ryoma made from when he started in the you know his very first spring game till when the season ended, because he looked a lot better versus the other sort of uh, mid that everyone kind of frowns upon in Ica who just didn't improve at all. You know, Cody's son has kind of the same deal. You know, if Cody can pop off, he looks really great, but if he isn't able to kind of get resources and pop off, he kind of struggles. So, you know, the pieces are there, obviously. I think it's just a matter of getting those pieces to really click at all the right times and everything.
Yeah, I'm not in love with Cody's son anymore. I don't feel like he's that strong if he doesn't have a great support next to him, and I don't think Stunt's all that great. So
He really. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're fine.
Okay, I was just gonna say, like he's really one of those players that like if you put a lot of resources into him, he'll play great. But if he's even or like behind, he kind of struggles, right? Because you just can't do as much, and he wants to try and do a lot. And I think maybe the issue with 100 Thieves is you have a couple of players like that on their team. So it's like, well, if we give a lot of resources to Someday, Cody can't carry in the late game and it kind of struggles. If we give too much to Cody, Someday just kind of gets bullied out of the lane, and then you know, our top side of the map is really weak, and it's kind of like having to like figure out how to push things around to make it work.
Yeah. So what do you think our win conditions for the 100 Thieves game is?
I'd assume that they're probably going to try to play through Someday a lot, so probably make sure that top lane's behind. You know, make sure that Licorice is having a good matchup and one that he can do well in and get ahead either by himself or just visit a lot and do like those 3-man dive plays that we really like to do. Honestly, I think that Sven and Vulcan, they on their own, they can probably win out against Cody and Sun like 9 out of 10 times. You know, so I really think that the bottom half of the map isn't the part that I'm worried about. It's more about the mid to top area that C9 probably has to look to play around.
Yeah, I think that we can just take these guys straight up in that as long as we don't get a matchup in top lane, that it is a game that we should win, because I don't think Ryoma or Cody Sun are going to beat you by themselves. So if we can just keep Someday in check, I think it's a relatively easy and straightforward game. And I think even if Someday is fed, I don't know. I don't feel like the champion, the top lane champion pool is strong enough to carry a full LCS game at this point either.
Yeah, it's kind of in a weird spot.
Yeah. So do you have any other thoughts about this weekend?
I do, since we are going into this weekend. I did want to talk a little bit about sort of the roster mayhem with a few teams. Immortal, like specifically Immortals, Dignitas, and maybe Golden Guardians. They're all teams that have been. It seems like they're having trouble deciding on who's exactly going to be the starting roster. Like Dignitas has no idea who the starter is, and it seems like they're doing the approach of going on a week-to-week basis, basically, and seeing who's performing and who isn't, and trying to shuffle it around to try to get all their best performers on the LCS team. Immortals, like I said, like just a few hours ago, they announced that, hey, Xmithy's now an academy, and they have Potluck starting. I'm not sure if that's going to be a permanent thing. I'm not sure if Xmithy fell off that hard or what. Who knows what's going to happen? In Golden Guardians, they signed Demonte to be their starter and have relegated Golden Glue to be their academy mid laner, and he would be competing for a spot / like splitting time with another mid laner.
Yeah, I think it sucks for Golden Glue because he was kind of erratic at points during a last split, but I don't feel like he was their problem, and that the team actually showed a decent amount of growth throughout the whole split, and it felt a little early to jump the ship on him.
Yeah, I think that he should have at least gotten another chance. I think that Golden Guardians' losses weren't ultimately, straight up through Golden Glue, but it was more. It was probably really. It was probably more the fact that their bot lane, you had no idea what they were doing. You had Keith's support at one point.
Yeah.
And you were, in terms of ADCs, they were kind of struggling in the bot lane a lot, and I think this was Closer's first split as their jungler. So he was maybe trying to adapt to starting in the LCS and everything. So I think that Golden Glue really wasn't the problem. It's weird that they would bench him so quickly and put Demonte as the starter.
Yeah, I know. I do think that the Mortals lineup is a complete shit show, and I don't even know if they are thinking through any of this in any way, shape, or form, because there's no world where Padlock is a better jungler than Xmithy, and if they end up dumping Soaz to 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 start, then I don't really know what they're trying to do, to be honest, because they're not really building a team for the future, and they're not building a team to play right now, and it really makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, their moves have really not been ones that really give a lot of confidence and really doesn't have like a straight direction. Like, especially even when in spring when they were announcing their roster, it's like, okay, we have Soaz and Xmithy. Okay, you're trying to bring in some old talent. They probably may not be worth as much just because their demand would be fairly low, or relatively low. I don't know, but you're bringing in some old talent that knows a lot. Okay, good. Then they have Ica, and everyone's like, why Ica? I'm not, I haven't even heard of Ica until they announced him, for the roster, and then for the bot lane, I think, was it Apollo and someone
It
else?
is.
I think now it's like Apollo and Gate is the
It's
starters.
no, it's Altec and Hakuo, or Apollo and Gate. I I guess it could be either of them.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how they started. I think it was maybe Apollo. Like they made these moves where it's like they got. I think that they tried to go for the budget roster approach, which makes sense because Immortals definitely isn't getting like any of the big picks first, so they look at what they have. But then I don't. Nothing really screams to me, even the academy team. Nothing really screams like developing talent. Like they're trying to really like do something. Like I would say maybe a Lorem in Potluck. I mean, Insanity has been in the academy team for a while, and I'm not exactly sure, what, if he's ever going to actually start on a team or not. So it just doesn't seem like they're trying to move in any sort of direction.
Yeah, and if they wanted a reason for people to care about them, they should pick up Keith and who he is, their bot lane, and just go full meme.
The Keith who he bought. I remember when it was announced that who he was going to be a support, and he lost it.
Yeah, I know, and it was well deserved because I feel like Keith almost outperformed him.
Yeah, it
And
was
Keith
weird
was
that
hot
Keith was actually
garbage.
doing like an okay-ish job at support.
Yeah, he was obviously learning as he played, so it just felt weird that they were going to commit to it and then just stop 3 games in, so or
Yeah.
3 weeks in. So that made absolutely no sense to me.
Even looking at it now, they have like Huhi, Chime, and Ole listed as supports. So it's
Meme.
really weird that they have just like 3 supports kind of sitting around, and
Yeah.
none of which are really crazy strong.
Yeah, I think the big talking points this week are who Evil Geniuses starts as their imports and how TSM performs.
Oh wait, apparently also, and I'm just learning this. Apparently, Darshan, aka Zion Spartan, is going to be coming in for Hanser to start for Golden Gardens as well.
Oh,
How do you feel about that?
interesting.
How do you feel about that action?
Hunter has really had a fall from grace, I guess, because it doesn't feel right. Maybe they feel like they need more veteran leadership with dropping Golden Glue, but it doesn't make a ton
I
of
mean, it
sense to
doesn't make
me.
a ton of sense because Zion Spartans fell off way before Hanser has.
I mean, he's like as old as me, and I'm old.
I mean, the weird thing about Darshan is like the fact that like he dropped out of starting because he was doing so poorly, and he is in academy because it's like the skill in NA for top lane had become so great that outside of a few specific picks and like doing like the split push strategy, I think that he's most famous for. He really kind of struggled, you know. So it's weird seeing him come back, and I'm not sure exactly. I don't know what like half of these teams are doing because like especially the bottom teams that we kind of predicted to be the bottom, they're making some really weird and kind of questionable decisions for Risen.
Yeah, and I think it really is an indictment on GMs and CEOs of these companies who just are recycle old garbage talent over and over again. Because Zion Spartan shouldn't be starting. Haunter maybe, but why would you start Zion Spartan over him? Why was Keith made a support in LCS? Why does Huhi have a job in LCS? And like, why is Ica starting when you could be using an NA mid who is just as good? And the list it is extensive, but that's just the first few off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think C9 really is one of the only teams that actively, I think, tries to develop talent. You know, I think that FlyQuest, maybe like 100 Thieves, maybe like some of the teams you can kind of put as maybes, but other teams just seem to be like, we're going to either go the budget route and try to like work with something and do a whole like greater than the sum of their parts deal, or we're going to pick someone with an expected ceiling and then pray that they can hold it at that ceiling or move it, because or otherwise they're kind of screwed.
Yeah, and a lot of these orgs, like even if they go the budget route, they don't get in anyone who's interesting to watch. So nobody cares when they play.
Yeah, their
Like
budget
people
picks are
like
not
Golden
even
Glue.
their budget picks aren't even good. It's just
Yeah, like and nobody's going to tune into an Immortals just because Potluck is fucking playing.
yeah. No, like no
except his parents.
no flame to like potluck or anything, but it's definitely
Yeah, that's true.
like it's definitely an indictment on organizations where they don't I don't think they understand how the ecosystem works and how they really develop talent. I think they just see they probably just have a spreadsheet with numbers and say like, okay, well here's how they do. Here's how the team kind of performed in some scrims to kind of see where they're at. And they go, they're probably fine. And then they just kind of leave it and they don't do anything more about it.
Or yeah, there's like absolutely no scouting network at all in NA. It feels like Tomo, maybe he'll end up being good, but if he's actually good, he could have been on an academy roster over Keith or over trying to think who else. Definitely who is just sitting in nowhere at this point, or Apollo, who isn't getting a starting spot in any time soon. Like these spots should be going to players who might play in LCS someday, not players who are extremely past their prime and just there to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous, but we can save that for a time when we have a little more time and someone else as a guest, because I think that would be a fun conversation.
Yeah, I think that definitely talking with some other people would definitely be fun.
All right. Anything else?
Let's do you want to do like a prediction for this weekend?
2-0.
I agree. I'm gonna optimistically say we're gonna do 2-0.
Yes. So make sure to tune in on Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our game against FlyQuest, and then Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the first game of the day against 100 Thieves. And make sure to watch the TSM Team Liquid game on Saturday.
This opening weekend
5 p.m.
has like
That'll
a
be
ton of
fun.
good games.
Yeah, that one. CLG Immortals for bottom. 100 Thieves Eve, Ulgene, Isses will be good, and that's on Friday. So should be fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Happy LCS week.
Happy LCS week.
And we will see you on the flip side.
Yee.
Bye.